Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and pretty intense debate happening in Japan. And it's all about the very foundation of their democracy, their election system. At the heart of this whole thing is a powerful concept you might not have heard of before: dead votes.
So, I want you to just think about that for a second. Imagine you go to the polls, you cast your ballot, you do your part, but what if, at the end of the day, your vote had absolutely zero impact on who actually got elected?
Well, for millions of voters in Japan, this isn't some hypothetical question. It's their reality. In the 2017 general election, this is the percentage of votes in winner-take-all districts that became what they call dead votes. We're talking nearly half. So what exactly does that even mean?
Okay, so the term in Japanese is shihyo. In Japan's current system, a lot of districts are winner-take-all. It's simple, right? The person with the most votes wins. But think about the flip side. If your candidate gets 49% of the vote and the winner gets 51%, your vote and all the other 49%, it just evaporates. It becomes a dead vote. It doesn't contribute to electing anyone.
So, this whole dead vote problem has kicked off a huge debate between two very different ideas about how to run an election. Let's break down the system Japan has now and the one that reformers are fighting for. And this right here, this really gets to the core of the whole thing. It's a trade-off. Japan's current hybrid system, it's really built for stability. It tends to create strong, single-party governments that can get things done. But the big drawback, as we've seen, is all those dead votes. The alternative is a full proportional system, and its goal is all about fairness. If a party gets 10% of the vote nationwide, they get 10% of the seats. Simple. Every vote counts. But the potential risk is a government that's maybe a little less stable, made up of lots of smaller parties trying to work together.
With that trade-off in mind, let's first look at the case for change. Why are people so passionate about getting rid of the current system and solving this dead vote problem?
So the proponents, they really boil it down to three main points. First, it's just about accurate representation, basic fairness. Second, they argue it would make elections more about policy. People would vote for a party's actual platform and vision, not just for some popular local personality. And third, the really big one, it completely gets rid of the whole idea of dead votes. Every single ballot matters.
Now check this out. This slide shows you exactly what they're talking about. Look at the 2017 election. The ruling LDP party, they got about 48% of the popular vote. But because of the way the system is set up, that translated into a massive 75% of the seats in parliament. So, people who want change look at this and say, see, this is not what the people voted for. It's a total distortion.
But, of course, there is another side to this. Opponents of this change will tell you that, yeah, the current system isn't perfect, but it provides something absolutely crucial for Japan: stability. Their case also rests on three powerful ideas. First, they say you lose that vital connection between a representative and their local community, the person you can actually go to who gets your town's problems. Second is the big fear: political instability. They paint a picture of a fractured parliament, a ton of small parties unable to agree on anything, leading to gridlock and constant elections. And finally, they worry accountability just gets watered down. If you're just voting for a party, who do you praise or blame? It makes it a lot harder to throw the bums out, so to speak.
Okay, so now we've got the two opposing views on the table, but this is where the debate gets really interesting, when they start poking holes in each other's arguments. Let's see how the reformers try to solve the very problems that the other side brings up.
This is the first big one. Opponents say, look, in a country with huge differences between the big cities and the countryside, a national system means all those local issues are just going to get ignored.
But the proponents, they have an answer for that. They point to countries like Sweden. Sweden uses a regional block system, so you don't just have one giant national list of candidates, you have several regional ones, which makes sure every area gets represented. And they also say, hey, a proportional system might actually help local voices by making it easier for brand new regional parties to pop up and win seats.
All right, let's move on to the second huge fear: instability. Opponents just see a future of political paralysis, with these weak coalition governments constantly falling apart.
And this is brilliant because it shows how both sides use other countries as examples to prove their point. The opponents will say, just look at Italy. They've had a history of governments collapsing all the time. But the proponents fire right back. Okay, but look at Germany. They also have a proportional system, and it has produced some of the most stable and effective coalition governments in the world. So the point is, the system itself doesn't automatically lead to one outcome or the other. It's more complicated than that.
Which brings us to the last major concern from the opposition. If you're just voting for a party, who's responsible? Who do you vote out of office if you're not happy? They're worried about these faceless politicians who are only accountable to their party bosses.
And here again, the reformers say, look, that's just a design flaw, and there's a clear solution. It's called an open list system. In places like Sweden and Finland, you don't just check a box for a party, you can actually pick your favorite candidate from that party's list. This puts way more power back in the hands of the voters and makes individual politicians accountable to you, not just their party.
So as we pull back a little, you can see this is so much more than a technical debate about election rules. It's really a debate about fundamental values, about what a country decides is most important for its democracy.
It all boils down to this one central conflict. On one hand, you've got the ideal of perfect proportionality, where the government is a perfect mirror of how the people voted. And on the other hand, you've got the desire for a decisive government, one that can act quickly and effectively, even if that means the reflection isn't quite perfect.
And this quote just captures the argument for change perfectly. For them, any system that just throws away almost half the votes is fundamentally broken. It goes against the very spirit of what a democracy is supposed to be. But the argument for keeping things as they are is just as powerful. With so many urgent problems in the world, they believe what Japan needs more than anything is a government that can make decisions fast, not one that's stuck in endless negotiations between a dozen different parties.
And so that leaves us with the final question. It's one that every single democracy has to struggle with. There's probably no single right answer, but the choice a country makes really tells you a lot about its priorities. So what do you think is more important? It's a question that really gets to the very heart of democracy itself. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.